Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to our conversation with our representatives from the Rocky Mountain Humanistic Counseling and Psychology Association. My name is Dr. Jim Ungarski, and I'm here with Dr. Lewis Hoffman and Dr. Nathaniel Granger Jr., two of the founders of, I want to make sure I get this right, RMHCPA. It's a long name.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, in our audience here, how this association came about?
Well, there was a few factors. It actually started, the idea for it started at a housewarming party actually when my wife, the family, and I moved back to Colorado Springs. And Dr. Ian Wickermacera, who's one of our founding board members as well, he had brought up the idea of it. We were talking about that Colorado and Colorado Springs in particular, but also Denver, Boulder, and beyond, has become recognized as one of the centers for humanistic and existential psychology in the United States and even the world to some degree. And so we thought it would be helpful to be able to have an organization where we could build some community, have a place where we could come together, opportunities for trainings and conversations and dialogues. And so with Ian's suggestion that we should start an organization like this, we started thinking about who would be good board members, and we identified a number of people. We met a few times in Denver just having some conversations about the possibility of this, and decided to go ahead and establish ourselves as a nonprofit member-based organization here in Colorado. And so that's kind of the story of how we got started.
I remember when we were coming up with that name, and I know that name is a tongue twister, Rocky Mountain Humanistic Counseling and Psychological Association, and we struggled with that, but we wanted the name to encompass both psychology and counseling, knowing that counseling, the counseling side of the house under KCRAP may not feel like they were part of or could be a part of this Rocky Mountain of this nonprofit. So we struggled with that. So the name just seems kind of long, but we just wanted to welcome those who are not psychologists, but counselors and psychotherapists and social workers and all those who are in the mental health.
So that's a big tent over there, with people coming from such different perspectives, all focusing on humanistic counseling and humanistic psychology. What do you hope to be the vision of this organization, and where do you see it going?
I personally, and I always tell Lewis this, that I see RMHCPA being the humanistic psychology hub of not just Colorado, not just Rocky Mountain region, not just the United States, but the world. That's my personal vision.
Yeah, we really want to create an important home where humanistic psychology can be applied in a lot of different ways. So the values of humanistic psychology are relevant for psychologists, for counselors, for social workers, educators in a lot of different areas. And certainly we're focused primarily on therapy and other applications, but we're very interested in being engaged on social issues, community dialogues, and applying the values of humanistic psychology broadly. I think that our board would all agree that we believe that humanistic psychology can change the world. And that's what we want to do. That sounds ambitious, and obviously we're just doing our part in that. But we believe that the values of humanistic psychology, particularly when you see what's happening in the world today with the polarization, the growing nationalism, and a lot of the tensions that are developing, we really need humanistic psychology right now. And so this organization, and based here in a nice hub, and we think there's a lot in Colorado that that just fits with humanistic values. The nature, the mountains, the community here, we just think fits great. But we think that pulling these things together, we can really help make contributions to the profession, to the field, provide a home that can really nurture and help professionals grow, so that we can go out and make the impact that is possible. So I guess one way you could put it is that we're hoping to help humanistic psychology actualize its potential.
So, there a lot of people come from different orientations in the field of psychology and in counseling. They could be cognitive behavioral therapists, they could be psychoanalytic. What sets humanistic therapists, whether they be psychologists or counselors, apart from everybody else? What makes this approach so different?
Well, it's a big question that we could spend hours on, actually, but if I could highlight a few of the things that I think are particularly relevant today. One is it's really embedded in a different type of relationship or way of being with people. So that relational quality to it, that's rooted in empathy, in compassion, in care and concern for others, in openness, rooted in trying to understand the other person instead of conceptualize or force them into a box. I think that's one of the key foundations of it. So these values of really valuing people and understanding people in their own context is an important aspect of it. So when we start thinking about some of the places where that can be applied, when you think about diagnosis, well, humanistic psychologists and counselors and other therapists certainly are trained in diagnosis and know how to use it well. What a lot of the research shows is that the preference is to not diagnose or rely on the diagnosis. What happens so often is when we diagnose someone, we start interpreting their behavior through that diagnosis, and it becomes more difficult to see and understand the person. And so with that humanistic lens, certainly we're aware of some of the patterns and different things that are represented in these diagnoses, but we want to remove the label and focus on the person, understand them in context. That Yalom has this, I think, beautiful statement where he talks about how it is easier to diagnose someone after the first session than after the 10th session. Because when you really get to know someone and understand them in their context, a lot of these things that you chalk up as symptoms or other things, they start to make sense. So through that understanding is an important part, and that connects with what's often talked about as the Phenomenological Foundation. And with that Phenomenological Foundation, it's really trying to put aside prior knowledge, structures, assumption, to understand the person in their own context, in their own experience. And so that's leaving behind a lot of these different theories and things that we use. It's not that those are not relevant and important. Those shape what we're able to see and understand in a lot of important ways. But we don't want to force those upon people. Instead, we want to understand the person in their own context for who they are, or how they understand and experience themselves. And that can be a radical change when you look at the field today. So there certainly are a lot of other things that we could talk about what distinguishes humanistic psychology from other approaches, but this focus on understanding what it means to be human, what it means to exist, looking at relationships through empathetic, compassionate eyes, and searching for deep connections, authentic connections, intimate connections. These are the types of values that are brought to life in humanistic psychology. So what we find, a couple of interesting things. One is, having taught at a number of universities for many years, I've heard stories over and over of people who got into psychology and they were thinking about leaving, and then they discovered humanistic or existential psychology and said, wow, this is what I thought I was going to be doing in psychology, what I thought I was going to find. And I've been thinking about giving up on the field because it was so different than what I experienced. And they were really missing a lot of that relational piece, the presence piece, that deep connection. And I've also seen that with clients, that I've had a lot of clients that have tried out these other approaches and they weren't a fit. they were looking for something that was more relational, understanding, focusing on them, not judging them, not forcing them into this box. Now, that's not to say that humanistic psychology is superior, and that's one thing I really try to emphasize, as I think all the different orientations have plenty of stories of clients who have gone to therapists from different orientations and weren't getting help and came to that orientation and it was the right fit. And unfortunately, so often therapists say, this proves that my approach to therapy is the best approach to therapy. Well, that's not the case. The reality is that having a wide array of different approaches to therapy is best for the consumers of mental health services. Different types of therapy are going to be more appropriate for different clients based on their values and what they're trying to get out of it. But we think that these humanistic values have really been neglected by the field of psychology and by our society, and they serve an important niche. So as we are able to help create their space, not to say that we're better than other approaches or other approaches should be pushed out, but to create the space to recognize the value in what humanistic psychology is doing, that can really help benefit consumers, people in the field, and the world at large in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I agree, and I couldn't have said it any better. And so I'll just keep mine just really, really short. And one of the things that I just love most about humanistic psychology, the thing that I see that separates it from other psychologies, is the premium that is placed on the human, particularly human dignity. And one of the things that I notice with humanistic psychology, that we often look at the language and how we work with people. For instance, the homeless population, and we change the language from seeing the people who are experiencing homelessness, instead of referring to them as homeless, a homeless person. This is a person experiencing homelessness. And I was sitting on a panel this past week for the city on the opioid crisis, and one of the questions that came up was what can we do as a community to better serve. The question was to better serve the addict, and I had like a visceral reaction when I heard that term, the addict. And I said, first of all, we have to humanize the person experiencing the addiction. The label itself is stigmatizing. And so we wonder where all these stigmas come from, but the stigmas come about just through the language. So I think it's so important to change the language, and that's what humanistic psychology does. We humanize the homeless, we humanize the addict, and so I think that's one of the things that separates us from the rest. The premium is placed on the human and not the diagnosis or the condition.
I always say that the language that we use is very important in therapy because that frames the entire outlook that we have on the world and how we view the world. So, the Rocky Mountain Humanistic Counseling and Psychological Association, I hope I got that right,
Yes.
is a membership organization. Do you mean to attract professionals to this organization, or can other people join? How do you view the membership of this organization?
Well, we attract certainly professionals because it's predicated on scholarship and professionals within the field, but it is open to students and those who are very interested and drawn to the field. And in fact, we would like to even do things in the community to bring in children and other marginalized groups to some capacity. And so the membership is open to those.
Yeah, we hope to serve some of them. The membership, we've got kind of the three categories of professional members, affiliate members.
That's right.
And so if that can be people who are international, and it might be people who are educators, other things that are interested in this area, and then students. But
That's right.
that student role is really important. That a number of years ago, there were some concerns about that humanistic psychology wasn't going to make it with one of the major organizations Society for Humanistic Psychology, the average age of membership was, I believe, in the mid-70s at the time. And that was about 15 years ago. We've seen significant change in this, where there's been a revitalization and a strong youth movement in humanistic, existential, transpersonal psychology that has brought about a lot of life back to humanistic psychology. And so the student perspective is really important. We want to have lots of mentoring opportunities for students, but also we want students to be involved as valued members. So one of the things that we've done different, for example, is that our student representatives are not just student representatives, as you often see, but they are voting board members. And we have two. We have one, an undergraduate. Currently, Ajay Trent is our undergraduate board member, and then Justin Walmsley, who is a graduate student board member. And what they add to our board and organization is really amazing. And by, again, kind of respecting, the value of experience, but also the value of fresh perspectives and what students can offer, so that we see all of us, from the people who are more experienced to students who are new in the field, as having extremely important contributions to the organization, and valuing the input, I think makes us a bit unique from some other organizations, but also gives us some energy and new perspective, and we're excited about that. So we have a range of members. As we develop a new institute, we're hoping to draw in a lot more students, children, families, other things to our events, not necessarily as members, but as people utilizing our services. And I think that's a really important thing. We don't want this just to be a professional organization that's serving the people in the field. We want to be something that's serving the community as well.
That touched on a number of topics in that one summarization there. So let me start off with, you mentioned mentorship for students as being a benefit of membership. What other benefits do members derive?
Well, certainly a discounted membership fee.
Yeah, for the conferences and continuing education. Yeah, that's a big part of it. We're working on expanding this quite a bit, and over the next 1 to 2 years, it's going to expand dramatically. That a primary benefit now is you get the discounted rate. You get access to our listserv, and able to post on our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page, a group that's open for anyone to join, so if you want to find out more about it. But for posting, you've got to be a member of the organization. We have a place where we list the member practices on there that's helpful for clients that may be looking for this type of therapy, as well as people, professionals who are looking for referrals. We help promote the scholarship and publications of our members. We have currently have a page on our website of books published by our members, and we're hoping to expand that to include some other things. But we're in the process of developing an institute, and as we develop this institute, there are going to be a dramatic expansion in the number of member benefits.
So what will this institute do?
We've got 4 aspects to it that are planned for right now. It started with the idea of an archives, and so it's going to be a humanistic, existential, and transpersonal archives. We have some people already that have committed to giving donations of books, historical artifacts, and other things. The first was Tom Greening, and Tom Greening has been a very influential person in humanistic and existential psychology, and he's made a substantial donation of books and some other artifacts to the Institute. And so we're going to help preserve those. We're going to develop, alongside the archives, a library. And with this library, what we're going to work to do is have a very comprehensive listing of existential, humanistic, and transpersonal books available. So the books will be available in the library, a lot of journal articles and book chapters as well. And we're in the process of developing what are typically called scholars in residence and luminaries. These are people that will contribute their collected works to the archives, and we'll house them there, but we'll also help promote them. And so this really serves the scholars, because it's a place where if you wanted to come study the contributions of Kirk Snyder, the contributions of Emmy vendors, and other people that may be a part of this archives, you can come and find their collective works and additional information about them here. And so that, we think that does a lot of value in preserving history and also advancing scholarship and honoring the people who have really made very significant contributions to the field. So we're working on developing that, and we'll also have something like a humanistic walk or wall of fame that's connected with that. We're going to have a training center that will be where we provide continuing education, and we have an affiliation with the Society for Humanistic Psychology to be able to provide continuing education credit through the American Psychological Association. And then, so we'll be offering trainings, our conferences, supervision, and then we're going to work on developing a clinic as well. And the clinic is something that we're really excited about, because this is where we start to serve the community, we start to put the values into action. And the focus will be providing services to individuals that are underinsured, for marginalized groups that don't have access to good healthcare in other places. So the clinic will have people that are licensed in private practice that will be practicing there. Those private practices will be independent practices, but they will be paying rent that will help support the institute and the archives and library, everything else. And then we're going to develop a Practicum Site. And the Practicum Site will be a place where individuals who are interested in really specializing in humanistic existential transpersonal psychology can come to do their practicum. But it also will be a way to really engage the community. So it's going to be a low-fee clinic. What we're tentatively thinking is it'll be 6 months to a year before we can implement this. So the fees may change some by that time. But our initial plan is that the fees would be about $25 as our standard fee for people that are seeing the practicum students. And we hope that our licensed people may offer a few of the low fee slots as well. But one of the things that we're going to do that's unique is if individuals volunteer 2 hours a month at a nonprofit in the community, then their fee goes down to $15. If they volunteer 4 hours at a nonprofit in the community, then their fee goes down to $5. For individuals that may not be able to volunteer because of a disability, being a single parent, things along those lines, we provide other avenues to those lower fees. But this is something that, volunteering and engaging in things that can be meaningful can be good for people that are struggling with various different types of psychological difficulties. So it benefits them, it benefits the community, it helps us to be engaged and involved in the community in a different way, and it also provides us access to low-fee therapy, which is very limited right now in the Colorado Springs area. So this will provide a lot of new benefits for members as far as training opportunities to get involved in the community, practicum sites, all different kinds of things there.
Well, certainly access to mental health care isn't something that's been lost on this community. For the past year, our local newspaper has been writing about the mental health crises in not only in Colorado Springs, but in Colorado in general. And I think this extends to across the nation as we look at many of our social, our cultural, our political differences. When folks start to examine it, they seem to hone in on, well, we're in the middle of a mental health crisis in access to care. So I'm sure that that's something that would be very welcomed in this community.
Yeah.
And very much needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
So you're hoping to expand this, though, to touch individuals outside of the local community, outside of the region and beyond. I mean, how are you going to do that?
Well, through trainings, through workshops, and certainly through our RMHCPA annual conference, which we have coming up in almost 2 weeks from now, October 15th.
Yeah, or 12.
12?
12, 11, 12, yeah.
So we have an annual conference that we hope to draw people from not just this region, but eventually from all over the world. And so, yeah, we have a few irons in the fire.
Those are some ambitious plans there.
We've got a very broad international circle of advisor for the Institute as well that includes a lot of the most prominent people in the field today: Alfred Langley, Emmy Van Derzen, Myrtle Heery, Kirk Schneider, and could go on and on with the list of scholars that we were able to get as a part of this. But through preserving that history, I think is a big part of it. We hope to make a lot of things that are in the archive and library accessible, particularly archive accessible. We hope to work with University Professors Press to publish some things from the archive. We hope to create a large video archive that helps preserve a lot of the history. So there will be a lot of things that will be accessible on the website, some of it generally accessible, some to members only, some only in the archives. But we also hope that it might become a sabbatical spot for some people that are studying humanistic existential transpersonal psychology, where they could come and spend a few days, a week in Colorado Springs and take advantage of the library and archives as a place to study, to get away. Of course, Colorado Springs is a beautiful place to spend some time for relaxation as well. So to combine a place where you can come and study and relax at the same time, we think might help attract some scholars to come and spend a little time here doing this, which is I think something that really serves the broader humanistic community. Also good for Colorado Springs, and then it brings, hopefully will bring people into the community to study as well.
And I was speaking with the two of you before we started this podcast about how this this nonprofit organization, the Rocky Mountain Humanistic Counseling and Psychological Association, could help advance community dialogue as well, to offer professionals, non-professionals a way to bridge the gap in terms of a divide that exists in dialogue right now amongst people. So if somebody was interested in joining RMHCPA, how would they go about doing that?
We've thought about a discount for people who can fluidly say RMHCPA, because it's not easy to say. They can join through our website. We've worked to keep our membership fees very low. Right now it's $30 for professionals, $20 for affiliates, $10 for students. As membership benefits advance, that might go up a little bit, but we hope to keep it very low, below what a lot of professional organizations charge, because we're really about service. So, but if I can touch a little bit on what you're asking about the community, we're working on developing a couple of speaker series, and that's going to be important, as well as one of the things we're excited about is we want to establish a couple of reading times for children. One would be for children from marginalized groups, particularly children of color, where they can come and hear stories that help empower them, help them feel good about their cultural heritage. And we're hoping that older kids and young adults will be doing a lot of the reading and then share their stories with it. So it'll be something to help kids really feel good about their identity, develop their cultural identity. And then another one that would be just focused on helping children learn some humanistic values such as empathy, compassion through the story times. So we want to be really involved in the community. We hope that we can facilitate some dialogues. Both Nathaniel and I, as well as my wife, Evelyn Claire Hoffman, a psychologist here in town, are on an experiential democracy task force that was developed by Kirk Schneider that is designed around helping facilitate applying depth psychology, existential and humanistic principles to conversations about difficult topics. And so we hope to bring some things along those lines in to be a part of the Institute as well. But I want to mention too, right now we're early in the process of developing this Institute. We're in the process of grant writing and fundraising. So the other thing that we really hope that people will be interested in doing is being involved in helping to support through donations. We have, with the children's book series, with the speaker series, with other aspects of the Institute, we're hoping that people may be able to make some significant donations, and then we'll find a way through the name of that aspect of the Institute to honor these contributors. But we want this to be something where there is a broad ownership to it, and so we're working hard on the grants and aspect of it to bring in some money that way. We're hoping that people that really believe in this mission, and I hope that you can see through Nathaniel and I that we're passionate about, we believe in this mission, we believe in what this institute can do for Colorado Springs, for Colorado, for the Rocky Mountain region, and for the profession, and for people involved and interested in humanistic, existential, and transpersonal psychology around the globe.
And people that were interested in contacting you, they can reach you at a website?
Yeah.
Yes, it's www.rmhcpa.org.
Okay. And I'm going to make this assumption, and you can correct me if this is correct, that you're looking for members to join, and you're trying to get people really excited about this new institute and all the activities of the institute. So as individuals, as organizations are watching this podcast, are you also interested in partnering with any community agencies as well? Or is that something that you'd be looking for in the future?
Yes, we're actively pursuing partnerships right now. We've got a number that we are in the process of establishing, both in the local community as well as nationally and internationally as well. And we do need volunteers too. We're still going to be adding a few members to the board. We have needs for committees and other volunteers. If people are excited about this and want to get involved, they can contact us. The best email is probably info@rmhcpa.org. That's just info@rmhcpa.org. You can email us there if you're interested in getting involved. For people in the community that are looking to connect with us, can also contact us through there. We also have a phone number, a local number, and an 800 number. I can't remember those off the top of my head.
Are they on the website?
They're on the website, so you can feel free to call us too, but we're very happy to make the connections. We believe that partnerships and collaboration are an important part of humanistic values as well. And we also deeply believe that by partnering with other organizations in the community that are doing good work to serve the people of Colorado Springs, national organizations that are serving existential, humanistic, transpersonal psychology, that by having these partnerships, we can really maximize the potential and actualize the potential of what can be offered through RMHCPA and the institute that we're in the process of forming.
Anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
It is an exciting organization. I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited that we are collaborating with other community organizations, one of which I'm passionate about is the No More Secrets Mental Health Symposium, which Lewis will actually be on that resource panel and on October 5th. And in this mental health symposium, its aim is to reduce the stigma around mental health in marginalized communities. And so it's an organization that we have collaborated with, and so I'm very excited about that our name is actually getting out there in the community as far as an organization to serve various groups.
Okay. And if I'm correct, I think October is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes, it is.
So it's great to have all these activities wrapping up and initiating this month to get people to really understand the plight of individuals who suffer from different types of stigmas around mental health issues, but also to encourage folks in general to say, mental health is not just people that are in therapy right now, but it applies to everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's, that's core to what our values is helping to understand people beyond just the labels, to reduce the stigmas. Fits great, and our organization is one that is very welcoming. It's very community-centered, very family, kind of a family feel to it. So if you want to be a part of a psychological community in Colorado, the Rocky Mountain region, that really helps to nurture and support these values, that provides the opportunity for relationships, we really hope that you'll join and come to some of our events and be part of our organization.
Well, thank you. I want to thank our guests today, Dr. Nathaniel Granger Jr., Dr. Louis Hoffman, two of the founders of the Rocky Mountain Humanistic Counseling and Psychological Association. And if you'd like to get more information from them, go to info.rmhcpa.org or look on their website at www.rmhcpa.org. And thank you for joining us today.